when the glory departs, how Israel lost the ark and, well, eventually found their way back. This is from 1 Samuel, chapters 4 through 7. So, have you ever tried to fix something important with the wrong tools? Just imagine your car breaks down on the side of the road. Instead of calling for help or, checking the engine, you slap a shiny bumper sticker on the hood and expect it to start. Sounds ridiculous, right? That's exactly what Israel did with the Ark of the Covenant. Let's rewind a bit. God's people were in a spiritual slump. Eli, their high priest, had two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, who were supposed to be ministers of God, but instead, they used their position to steal, exploit, and honestly, live shamefully. Eli knew they were corrupt, but didn't stop them, and because of that, judgment was coming. Then came war. The Philistines, a powerful enemy nation, lined up for battle, and Israel suffered a humiliating loss, 4,000 men dead in a single day. So what did the elders of Israel do? They asked the right question. Why did the Lord let this happen? But then, instead of repenting, instead of examining their hearts, they reached for a shortcut. Let's bring the Ark of God into battle, they said. The Ark, that sacred golden box, wasn't just a symbol. It represented God's presence. But Israel treated it like a good luck charm, as if the box had power on its own. They paraded it out like a rabbit's foot, carried by, you guessed it, Hophni and Phinehas. Do you see the problem? It wasn't the Ark that had the power. It was the God of the Ark. And that God doesn't play games with sin. Israel shouted with excitement when the Ark entered the camp. So loud, in fact, that the Philistines heard it and panicked. Their God is with them, they cried. But then the Philistines did something surprising. They fought harder. This time, 30,000 Israelites fell. Hophni and Phinehas were killed. And worst of all, the Ark of God was captured. A messenger ran to Shiloh to break the news. Old Eli, sitting by the gate, heard it. He didn't collapse at the death of his sons, but when he heard the Ark was gone, he fell backward, broke his neck, and died. Then a woman, Phinehas's wife, went into labor when she heard the news. Her final act before dying in childbirth was naming her son Ichabod, which means the glory has departed. And that's exactly what had happened. The glory of God had left the nation, not because the Ark was taken, but because the people had left God long before the Ark left them. Now here's the question. Can we do the same today? We might not carry around a gold-covered box, but we do have symbols, church buildings, communion cups, even scripture on the wall. But without obedience, without true devotion, they're just empty shells. As Paul said, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Let's not be like Israel, trying to solve a spiritual crisis with spiritual shortcuts. But the story doesn't end in tragedy. The Philistines thought they had won. They paraded the Ark into the temple of their god Dagon. They placed it next to their idol in a smug display of victory. But the next morning, Dagon had fallen on his face before the Ark. They stood him back up. The next morning, he was down again, but this time, his head and hands were broken off. God was sending a message. I don't need an army to defend me. I don't need men to carry my reputation. I am God, and I will not share my glory. What followed was chaos, plagues, tumors, panic. Wherever the Philistines sent the Ark, God's hand followed. It was like trying to hold on to fire. Finally, after 7 miserable months, they had enough. They hitched 2 milk cows to a cart, loaded the Ark, and sent it rolling back to Israel. Here's the kicker. These were untrained cows, newly separated from their calves. Instinct said they should turn around and go back, but they walked straight ahead because God was guiding them. Israel found the Ark again, but they still weren't ready. Some people in Beth Shemesh looked inside the Ark, even though God had strictly forbidden it. They treated the holy as common, and they died. So the people, afraid again, sent the Ark to a town called Kiriath Jearim, where it stayed for 20 years. Finally, the people began to mourn. They realized something had been missing, not just the ark, but the presence of God. That's when Samuel, now grown, stood up. He didn't tell them to bring out the ark again. He didn't suggest a bigger temple, louder music, or a clever strategy. He said, "Put away your idols. Turn your hearts back to the Lord. Serve him only." And they did. Samuel gathered the people at a place called Mizpeh. They fasted, they confessed, they repented, and just then the Philistines heard they were gathering, unarmed, exposed, and thought, perfect chance to crush them again. But this time was different. This time Israel wasn't relying on symbols. They were trusting in God. Samuel prayed, he sacrificed, he cried out to the Lord, and heaven thundered. The Philistines were thrown into confusion. Israel chased them down and won a stunning victory, not because of a golden box, but because of genuine faith. To remember it, Samuel took a stone and named it Ebenezer. Thus far, the Lord has helped us. So let me ask you, where is your Ebenezer? Where's that moment when you can say, I turned back to God and he helped me? Is it buried under distractions, or pride, or fear? Or maybe you're in the place Israel was, in defeat, in loss, thinking the glory is gone. But the story of 1 Samuel chapters 4 through 7 teaches us something beautiful. Even when we lose the symbols, even when we've made a mess of our faith, if we humble ourselves, put away our idols, and return to God, he will thunder from heaven. He will fight for us. He will forgive. But he won't be mocked. He won't be treated like a good luck charm or a religious relic. He is not a God who shares a shelf with idols. He is the Lord, and he alone is worthy of our hearts. So don't just raise your voice in worship, raise your heart in obedience. Don't just keep the appearances, keep the faith. Because if we truly honor him, he will honor us. Just like he said to Eli long ago, "Those who honor me I will honor, but those who despise me shall be lightly esteemed." The choice is still ours.